This day, me and my wife was taking a trip to see a haunted location. We look for spooky locations where spooky things happen to see if we can get a reading of the spooky locations. Because that's how we get food on our tables. We have to go out of our reach to get food on the tables. This church, what they call borley church, me and my wife go last year, and I'm gonna tell you the terrifying incident what took place last year. There was this church in the 90s, what they call Borley Church. It locates in the Borley Asses, where priests and nuns were gathered. Let me tell you the horrifying story now. A nun fall in love with a bald head monk. And the people from Borley Church figure out from time to time that the nun has been having an affair with a monk from a nearby monastery. As I said, the monk come from a nearby monastery. And with the nun having an affair with the monk from the nearby monastery, their punishment was yet to come. Their sacrifice was horrible. As punishment, the monk was executed with his head was chopped off. And for the nun death was horrible because they buried her alive in the church walls. Ever since that, Borley Church become a haunted location. Ever since me and my wife heard about this tragic event what go down at Borley Church, we decided we'll check it out for ourselves. Me and my wife Cassie was headed there now. We were driving on the highway and we decided we were going to stop at a nearby cottage to get some supplies to continue our journey. We stayed at the little cottage buying food items. We decided it was a little shop and we get what we wanted and then we hit back the road. Next we drove it until we reached the Borley Church. I went inside and I was looking at the big portrait on the wall. I was looking around at the building because the building was totally deserted when I noticed that my wife Cassie wasn't beside me. I see Cassie at the doorway in the distance. Cassie was looking around vigorously. Cassie was looking around. I said, Cassie, are you getting something, hon? She said, this thick wall. She couldn't breathe anymore after a while. This thick wall was choking her. This thick wall choked her to death. Obviously, I look around and it was just, the place was just brick. And it was old and dusty. Nothing more than that, and it was just full with portraits. Cassie said, let's go, and started walking to approach me. After that, we met with the pastor of the Borley Church. The pastor said, welcome to Borley Church, you two. The pastor said, there are some unknown things happening here recently. And my wife Cassie got curious to say, what kind of happen? You mean ghosts happen? The pastor said, yes, some ghost sightings has happened here. Yes, as they said, Borley Church is definitely haunted. As they say, it's haunted and ghosts haunt this location at night. So if you see anything, just don't go back into the church. After the pastor finishes sentences, my wife Cassie get excited and dry. The pastor said, yes, things do happen here, but you have to be careful. We looked at the pastor with concerned eyes. The pastor said, if you see anything, you two, don't step back a foot into this church. I'm warning you. Just be careful. After the pastor leave, my wife Cassie started exploring the premises. I was thinking in my mind when this haunted thing is gonna start. Then I looked at my watch, it was exactly 7 o'clock. I said, few more minutes and the horror event will start. I can see grave with saplings out there. I stood there in the distance looking at the big picture frame on the wall. Next I hear my wife Cassie scream out for me and I run towards her vigorously. Next, I stand there clueless, seeing Cassie in the distance, standing up with a frightened face. I run over to her fast as I can and say, what happened? Why were you screaming? What happened to you? Cassie said, look, pointing her finger. I looked into the direction where she was pointing, and trust me people, Cassie was pointing to the light and I didn't see anything, but she constantly keep pointing to the light and I said I was going to look carefully. I started looking carefully at the street light. I kept looking and I didn't see anything. I was looking hard enough. I said, honey, there's nothing there. Why were you screaming? She said, don't you see? Just look. Look carefully. And when I look, my jaw dropped. The ear in the back of my neck stood up because what I see shocked my whole life forever. I see someone. When I look carefully, I see a man under the street lamp. I said in my mind, that man wasn't there before. What's going on? But at the body structure of the man, it almost looked like he was staring at us, which he was. The man was staring at us vigorously under the street lamp light, and he was moving an inch. I was looking and thinking it over. I was kind of scared, but at the same time, I just remember that my wife was with me. I have to be brave. I say, hey, what are you doing under there? Are you trying to scare us? We're not kids. We're not scared. I was ready to approach the man when my wife Cassie said, no, Ed, he's not human. As she said this, I got scared. A little fear come over me. Next, the man walked exactly under the street lamp and stand there and then raise his hand and remove his hoodie. When he removed his hoodie, the hair in the back of my neck stood up because I can see white bones gushing out of his slashed neck, blood gushing out of his slashed neck. The hair in the back of my neck stood up. I was so shocked at that moment. I got so frightened to the core where I was trembling. I almost wet my pants at that same moment where I saw the man with his slashed neck. I started run back to the church with my wife, Cassie. Me and Cassie was running back in a rapid speed. We were running so fast that I almost thought I was a flash from that television series, The Flash. We run back straight into the church and I was tired. I was breathing heavily. The next horror event unfolded right in front of me. My wife was looking shocked like she would get an heart attack at any moment. Her face was pale. She said, oh my God, Ed, we run straight into their trap. I said, what trap? Do you remember when the pastor said if we see anything spooky, we should leave this place immediately and don't go back inside the church? I got scared to hear my wife bursted out. I started looking for a way out, but as I knew it, the ghost of the church locked us inside the church. I was trying to open the door what leads to an exit, but as I knew it, no lock. And suddenly I started panicking and suddenly the temperature rise. The temperature was cold, 90 degrees Celsius. And next my vlog camera suddenly taking random snaps. From that, I know we weren't alone in this church. And next, the church bell started to go off. It started ringing. And next, I can see candle light in a distance. After the candles were lit, they were there for a while. Then they went out. After that, I was damn god scared. I almost peed my pants at that moment. Even my wife, Cassie, was scared at that time. Cassie grabbed onto my hand. Next she said, run, run. Next we started running, then the door barged open with fogs and the fog what come inside the church was thick, and when it come inside the church, the temperature rise. It was even get more colder. The temperature was rising drastically. When that happened, you don't have to say what's going to happen next. I stand there struck in my tracks because I know what's going to happen next. And then my wife said, here she come. At that time, I see a bony nun figure standing in the distance of the doorway. She had a Jesus cross in her hand in a tight fist. And plus, on top of it, her back was turned towards us. And next, the burned out candle lit back in a flash, scared the hell out of me. And then next, lightning flash and then she turned towards us. Me and my wife Cassie was scared at that time. She was looking at us with big open eyes. In her eyes, I can see pure anger. Like she would have wanted to take away our souls at that moment. Her mouth was drastically dripping blood. She was looking at us with big wide eyes. in anger, and then she smiled creepily and chuckled, and then she vanished in thin air. The next day, me and my wife hit the road. I said to my wife when we were in the car, I said, "What happened there, on? What happened? Did you get a reading?" My wife looked at me and said, "This is just the beginning. Just the beginning." When she looked at us and smiled, that was just the beginning.